Jake Ludington here at HP Global Partner Conference 2013, and I'm here with Mike Banic. You guys made some networking announcements today. Can you run down what those were?
Yeah, we made announcements on three things. First, a unified BYOD essential solution built on top of a unified wired wireless network solution. And we talked about how our Sentinel Security Application is a must-have for any BYOD initiative and how that can actually protect the user-owned devices that are brought into the network. Because we've seen from research that employee-owned devices are more than 2 times likely to be affected by vulnerabilities than the company-issued ones.
So let's start with BYOD and unifying that. What exactly does that mean?
So we introduced something called User Access Manager Module 5.2. It's building on something we already have in the market, and it's built on top of IMC. So IMC, the Intelligent Management Center, is the single pane of glass we use to manage our entire Flex Network portfolio. And by building User Access Manager on top of it, that's what really makes it unified. That's why we were deliberate in using that word. And what User Access Manager Module does for a customer is it allows them to have a self-registration portal. So if I come into the office and I've got my iPhone 5, I simply point it to that self-registration portal and it automatically discovers everything it needs to know about the device. Its manufacturer, its model type, the operating system it's running, and it goes further and it actually interrogates it with the HTTP client that's on it. It uses DHCP to learn a little bit more about it, and then it applies a policy based on my identity. So it applies a policy based on Mike, an employee, using this iPhone 5 and all it's gathered from it on the network. So as I roam about, it follows me. So I get that one policy. And what it does is it eliminates the need to want to sneak this thing in because it's easy. I don't have to go through some elaborate, long process. I want connectivity now, and I can get it very quickly.
Excellent. That is a huge solution for anybody who's had to bring their own thing from home. And that's becoming a lot more common. If you actually want the device you want to use, you probably have to pay for it in order to bring it in on the network because the company's not buying it for you.
Absolutely. The whole idea of one time people thought the company would give you a stipend, and because everybody owns their own thing, they're like, why should we do that? We'll just let them bring what they wanted, and this really makes that possible. And the thing that makes it nice being built on IMC is you get to leverage all of the other modules on IMC, like application performance monitoring and application auditing, so you really can start to get a sense of, for a class of users, what's the SLA that's being given. Because as that class of marketing employees is in the network, well, what applications do they use, where are they using them, what's the application performance that they get from them, and I can click in and look at a specific user. Mike's been complaining lately. Well, what kind of performance does Mike actually get, and does it differ when he's in one part of the facility or another? And that's actually pretty cool.
All right, so unified wireless and wired networking. That's something that those two things have lived in a very siloed fashion since wireless was introduced to the network. What are you guys doing that's making that unified now?
So the first thing we did is we've actually worked with the industry influencers like the guys at Gartner and Forrester and IDC to really craft a definition so we can be really clear with customers in the marketplace and our partners. And so the definition is, first you need to unify the user policies and user management. So you have to have one identity. So Mike's got to have one identity whether he plugs into wired or whether he connects wirelessly. And there needs to be uniformity. You have to have consistency and uniformity for your security. And so in this solution, we've done things like integrate our tipping point security into the BYOD solution. You need to also have unification of all the network management, so stop using separate tools to manage the wireless from the wired. And you need to start to unify the form factors. So start to dissolve things like the wireless LAN controller into the access switch. You really shouldn't be buying 2 pieces of hardware and deploying 2 pieces of hardware and managing 2 things. Manage one thing. We know that people are going to connect wirelessly. We know we're going to plug access points into an access switch. So, dissolve that controller function into it. And so there's 2 pieces of hardware we announced for this. The first is the 830 Unified Wired-WLAN Switch, and it's a 24-port switch, PoE plus on all ports, so you can power phones, cameras, and access points. And it's got the controller dissolved into it. So there's one control plane there, one set of user policies, one set of user management, one network management. And then for modular solutions, we built a new card for the 7500 chassis and the 105 chassis. So this new Unified Wired Wireless LAN card, when you plug it in, it's different than old controller cards. Old controller cards were power-sucking aliens, and you trombone traffic through them. And what this does is integrates with the software stack on the switch, so it becomes an integral part of it. It makes the whole switch a unified wired wireless switch. And it does things like terminate tunnels, but it distributes the functionality across all the existing ports that are there in the chassis already. And then, where you centralize those wired wireless functions in the 10.5 or 7500, you still need things at the access layer like PoE. And we've taken a step forward with a product category we created with the 2910, the fixed gigabit Ethernet wired switch. And we've added stacking, and we've added SDN, and we've issued that as the new 2920. And so that was another thing we announced today, and that marries up really well with the 10.5 and the 75, where you use that unified card. And then across all of this stuff, we introduced some software that gives you a better experience, eliminating interference, eliminating dead spots, and then balancing the load, called Wi-Fi Clear Connect.
Now, even with all of that simplicity, isn't it going to be an uphill battle to get people to throw out their legacy hardware and adopt something completely new?
Oh, absolutely, and we've taken some steps to avoid that. So we're not actually telling anybody you have to do a rip and replace. So with the BYOD Essentials, the ability to apply policy dynamically to that device we can discover in the portal, we can actually implement that even in a heterogeneous environment. So if you have a RubiKit or Cisco kit in your environment, or you're trying to get rid of another vendors because they're not making the commitments you need to them as a customer, you can actually start to deploy this without having to replace all of it. You can make that change incrementally. And one of the other benefits, we announced some service advantages with financial services, where they can actually give you some residual value back on the equipment you have. And one of the things we've seen is the benefits we bring in making that transition easier on a monetary basis has actually shown that customers are 42% more likely to buy another solution from HP, whether it's networking or servers or storage. And so we've also seen that make a difference. So people have the complete flexibility and choice here in how they do it, how quickly they do it, and that makes a difference.
I think even just that policy piece being unified makes a massive difference, because having to have multiple policies for the same user just doesn't really make sense.
Oh yeah, and somebody asked me, for partners who have a practice in place already where they've gone and built their own set of bits of software to make this happen, why would they go and adopt ours? And I said, well, it's because they now have that unified with IMC. Because everybody wants one pane of glass. And we have clients that, the first thing they bought was IMC. Like the University of New Mexico, it gave them a single pane of glass to manage a heterogeneous environment. They're now a very large HP networking client, but it's only through solidification of one single network management platform that you continue to build on, and the fact it's a web services based one, so all these modules take advantage of all the functionality in the existing ones. It just saves them time and money.
And you kind of hinted at this when we were talking about unifying BYOD, but you guys have the Sentinel software-defined networking appliance that is looming as something that's actually going to be readily available in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is something that's going to be part of every BYOD application. Because when somebody brings a device like their mobile phone in or their tablet in, we all use these for personal email and for work email, and it all happens to us that somebody we know has malware infection, and it takes over their email account, and it sends something to everybody in their address book. And sometimes you don't think about it. You think, oh, I got an email message from Joe. I trust Joe. Oh, a link, it doesn't sound bad. And you click on it, and it's a nefarious website. And now all of a sudden it's like, I just made my life complicated. I've corrupted my phone. I've actually impacted business data. I've got to tell somebody about. Maybe it's a device I snuck in. So Sentinel actually prevents a lot of that from happening, because what it does is it uses, by running on the SDN controller, programs the access layer, wired and wireless. Remember, we're unifying it, and it tells the network to redirect DNS requests. Because when I got that trusted message, well, what I thought was a trusted message from Joe, my friend, and I click on it, it's a nefarious site that I've never gone to, and so my device is going to send out a DNS request. Well, that ends up getting rerouted to Sentinel. It does an inspection against the Reputation Digital Vaccine Database, RepDV, and if it's a nefarious website, and we've got the richest research around that, it will actually not let it through. What I see as a user is network unreachable, and I think, what a pain in the butt, I'll just go do the next thing. And if I roam about, I'm still going to get that, because we block it everywhere in the access layer. Meanwhile, Sentinel's communicated that to ArcSight, and because my device is fingerprinted, and they know where I'm at in the network, the IT guy can find me and remediate it, and because it was reported to ArcSight, you have the audit trail to do compliance reporting. And so it's a really tight integration across different parts of HP. It's a great pan-HP solution, but it'll become a vital part of every BYOD deployment.